Yo, what is up guys? Ripjob back here for the daily video. I don't really know how long this one's going to be. I'm just going to be riffing on a subject that I've really been wanting to talk about, and a subject that's really been captivating me over the past couple of, I guess you could say past year or so. And today we're going to be talking about how the Democrats have dug themselves a hole in terms of not being able to get the male vote, and how they're going to be unable to change their messaging and policy topics because of how far left they have leaned in the past couple of years. And quickly, before we get into this video, I'm sorry about the audio from that video yesterday. I started using a new editing software, and I also want to say I appreciate the support on my previous videos. Never did I think that I'd be getting 1,000 views in one of the first 4 videos that I posted talking about politics, but, you know, I appreciate you guys a lot. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about was, at least in this past election, and I saw some of this in the 2016 election with Clinton getting beat by Donald Trump, but it was more obvious in this past election, was instead of focusing and addressing policy concerns that young men cared about after losing the elections, the Democrats kind of dug their own grave by making up excuses such as accusations of misogyny for not supporting female candidates. You had a bunch of Democratic figures and Democratic-aligned media outlets labeling male voters' lack of support for Kamala Harris as rooted in sexism. And one of the examples I have for that is when Barack Obama was talking to black men in Pennsylvania and kind of shaming them for feeling that they didn't want to have a woman president and coming up with reasons and excuses to not have a woman president, pretty much just saying that they're misogynistic without directly saying it. At the same time, you had other media outlets and pundits such as Christy Selter spinning that Harris's unpopularity among men was due to misogyny and, quote, outdated ideas, while other members of the Democratic Party called it ridiculous that not everyone was ready for a female president. On top of that, some of the Democratic pundits on MSNBC and other media outlets were being pretty much racist towards Mexicans and the Hispanic culture in general by saying that the Mexican, quote, macho culture was pretty much the reason why Mexicans and Hispanics were misogynistic and wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris, which is, if you think about it, what would happen if a Republican or a Republican running for office or someone on Fox News said that Mexicans were inherently sexist because of the culture that they were raised in? I'm pretty sure that they'd be or if this was 2016, they'd be canceled, kicked off every platform, demeaned, and probably fired from their job. And this really gets to the kind of issue that I have with the current Democratic Party, with the, I guess you could call, suicidal empathy and kind of victim hierarchy, is that me as a straight white male, or if you're a male of any, I guess you could say any race, is that if I were to join the Democratic Party, I would be at the bottom rung of that victim hierarchy, and that's kind of how the Democrats run their hierarchical structure. If the Democrats want to run a candidate in a Democratic area, and they have a corporate gay guy compared to someone running who's just a straight white male, they're going to pick the corporate gay guy because it fits their messaging better and their PR better. Whereas if you were to run as an independent or a Republican, your demographic traits would carry less weight in a primary, in a city council election, in whatever you're running for political office. And a direct outcome of how the Democratic Party is structured their hierarchy around this victimhood pyramid is that less masculine men are going to be at the top of the party. And you're going to have figures such as Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff representing the Democratic Party men, and the majority of men aren't going to be able to empathize or sympathize with more feminine men, because the majority of men aren't like Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff. I'm not saying that it's bad to be someone like Tim Walz and Doug Emhoff, because they're obviously successful in their own careers, but that's not how you're going to reach the majority of American men. The way you reach a majority of American men is going on podcasts such as Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, and so on. But at the same time, the Democrats dug themselves a hole by pretty much labeling those people as alt-right, pretty much saying that anything that they say is sexist, racist, homophobic, misogynistic, etc. So they pretty much stopped themselves through their own messaging of being able to go on being able to go on the platforms that the majority of young men and men in general listen to. Then my next point I want to talk about is how the Democratic Party is pretty much dismissed male-specific struggles. They don't talk about depression rates among men. They don't talk about suicide rates among men. They don't talk about any bad thing or anything that would suggest that men are struggling, because it goes against their narrative that we are in a matriarchal society where like the top 1% CEOs are majority men. And I'll give them that the top 1% of CEOs are majority men, but that doesn't mean that every single man in America is as successful as them, is as happy in their lives as they are. And that just leads to a big disassociation of men who are going, or the majority of men who are going through their own struggles and feel like the only party that is listening to them is a Republican Party. And if the Democrats keep on dismissing and not even mentioning the struggles that men go through because they think it's sexist or goes against their messaging of the matriarchy, it's just gonna cause them to lose more. And me sitting here as a political science student, I'm just laughing my ass off, just looking at these complete idiots. I don't even know what they're doing. It's like, you think if they would want to win, they would appeal to the voters that they lost, such as the male Hispanics, the black men, and the kind of centrist men who have been alienated by these messaging, but they just don't. And the only justification that I think I have for this would be, one, Citizens United got passed in 2010. A year after that, the Occupy Wall Street movement happened. And in the next presidential election, where there was a new candidate who was looking for new values to run on, which would be the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton decided to run on a messaging of identity politics, where Bernie Sanders ran on a messaging of socioeconomics based off of class. And I think that I can see if I can find this clip, but there was a moment where Clinton called Sanders racist for leaving out race when talking about socioeconomics. And I think that was the main turning point, or the thing that sticks out to me as a political science student of, oh, so we're going more corporate here. I couldn't find the video of it, but here's a quote taken from a political article of Clinton responding to Sanders' claims about how economics would fix a majority of problems with race disparity. And Clinton just pretty much responds with your identity politics mumbo jumbo. And I really see this as a turning point for when the Democrats shifted their policies to be less conducive to men. And as you know, from 2016 onward, the identity politics message only got worse and worse, ranging from the George Floyd riots to the implementation of DEI across pretty much every corporation. And funny thing, the end result of the 4-year DEI experiment was that the majority of people who benefited from DEI initiatives were white females. And I never see Democrats talking about, hey, maybe these black men, Hispanic men, instead of just being racist and misogynistic, maybe they realized that they were sold something that wasn't actually benefiting them, and decided that they were going to switch sides and go to the party which seems to value merit more. And that will get into the actual issue that is currently plaguing the Democratic Party now, which is, how do you, after nearly 10 years of running on this anti-men, feminist, LGBTQ, anti-gun rights, anti-masculinity platform, how do you shift that platform to be appealing towards men while also maintaining the same loyalty of their base? I'm currently of the opinion that shifting to a more masculine appealing message while maintaining the loyalty of your base is almost going to be impossible. Because the way that I see it is that if I agree with 8 out of 10 things with the Democrat, and I don't agree with them on trans rights and abortion, they're going to call me hateful for not agreeing with those two instead of focusing on the 8 issues that I have in common. Now, I'm not saying that characteristic applies to everyone on the left and it doesn't apply to everyone on the right. I just think that there's more groupthink and not being able to agree to disagree on the left than there is on the right. And especially after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and how people have reacted to that and how people seem to justify violence against what they deem as hate speech, even if it's just a common sense opinion. If the Democrats were to shift more towards what I would consider a common sense opinion on trans rights, abortion, DEI, immigration, etc., I feel like they've just kind of trapped themselves in a hole, because you've already seen how the extremists on the left, like the 2%ers on the left, react to a Republican saying that. And I really don't think that they're going to react any differently than if John Fetterman comes out and says this, or if Dick Durbin comes out and says something along those lines. And I feel like a lot of Democrats are currently scared of their own party because they didn't realize the hole that they dug themselves in until they couldn't get out. I don't even know if the majority of Democrats realized, or Democratic leadership realized the position that they're in, because they keep on using the same messaging of Nazi, 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 fascist, 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 Hitler, 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 and that's only going to make their base more, I don't know, afraid, excited, wanting to commit heinous actions like they do against Republicans, if they suddenly transition into being a more common sense party to appeal to the voter base. Like, I just really don't see how the Democrats can become more centered with the amount of extremism that is on their far left. And if you can't really understand or if you can't understand what I'm trying to explain, I'll give two examples for this. One for the left, one for the right. Just imagine that you're a 16-year-old kid in 2016, and once you got into politics, the entire messaging that you've been getting is fascist, 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 Nazi, 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 like I mentioned before. And then you see the people that you look up to and that you see are guarding your freedoms, I guess, switch that messaging. Like, you would feel like your party is becoming the fascists, and you would have to do something about it because that's what your party's been telling you to do. And if that doesn't sit with you, just imagine if Republicans, after the Charlie Kirk shooting, started to push for like assault weapon bans and just restricting Second Amendment rights. Imagine how you as a Republican would feel, and the amount of outrage that you would feel against your own party for kind of going against the messaging that they've been portraying for the past forever, I would guess. Overall, I think the current Democratic Party is in a pretty shitty situation. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place of, if they go more moderate, they're going to have to deal with the same extremism that moderate Republicans are dealing with from their own party. And if they become more leftist and start to go down more socialist talking points, they're going to alienate the moderates that caused them to lose the election in 2024. If you made it this far, please make sure to like and subscribe. On top of that, make sure to let me know how the audio is doing on this video. I try to fix some settings up, so hopefully it's doing better. And on top of that, please let me know which type of video you prefer more, whether it's this type video with some game footage in the background, or if you prefer the video that I did last time, which is more cinematics with clips with me talking over, or if you prefer the first videos I was doing where it was just me with a webcam going over different articles and Twitter posts.